We know that moving a parent into an assisted care facility can be a tough decision. But what should you actually consider before you make such a move?
Whistleblowers at a facility in Hendersonville are now speaking out after a resident died from a nasty fall. Investigative reporter Jennifer Krause talked with these former employees who say what happened was wrong and they don't want it to happen to anyone else.
Joyce Myers had Alzheimer's, but by all accounts was full of life. The 88-year-old, they say, was a spunky woman who loved to make people laugh. Until one night in late January at the Hickory Hills Alzheimer's Special Care Center in Hendersonville.
I was not prepared what I walked into.
Carly Willis was one of the charge nurses on duty. She was nearing the end of her shift here when she heard a call for help. She rushed to Myers' room where the elderly woman had been found on the floor of her bathroom, moaning and barely conscious.
And the left side of her face was completely purple, eyes were black. There was like a pocket that blood had pooled, and I knew then she had a brain bleed.
Myers also had 2 broken hips. She was rushed to the hospital but never regained consciousness, so she was sent back here to Hickory Hills to essentially die. And 5 days later, she passed away. Something Willis believes could have been prevented.
That woman shouldn't have died.
Now Willis and Kay Holmes, another Hickory Hills nurse, want you to know what happened.
This vibrant woman's life, was being cut short because someone didn't want to do their job.
The nurses say it appeared Myers had fallen trying to get herself to the bathroom. They say she should have had a caregiver there to assist her, but didn't. And when Willis asked Myers' caregiver how long the woman had been alone,
she said, well, I don't know. I said, okay, well, when's the last time you did a round on her? It's called doing a round whenever you go and take all of your residents to the bathroom. And she said, well, I haven't seen her all day. I asked again, I said, no, when's the last time you took her to the bathroom? I thought maybe if I was more specific. She said, no, I hadn't seen her all shift. Shift started at 2. This is 7:30.
Tennessee has no set requirements as far as how often a patient should be checked on or taken to the bathroom. But both women have been nurses for years and say 5.5 hours is too long.
This is straight up neglect when you don't touch someone for 5.5 hours.
But an attorney for Hickory Hills maintains Myers was not neglected. While Hickory Hills has never claimed anyone ever actually took Myers to the bathroom that day, the attorney told News Channel 5 Investigates that Myers had been observed at Hickory Hills throughout the afternoon and early evening by a number of different caregivers, including the one assigned to Myers. But Willis questioned Myers' caregiver repeatedly that night and got a different story.
I'm trying to give her every opportunity to fix what she said. And she said, no, I hadn't seen her all shift.
Yet later, when the caregiver filled out this incident report, she wrote she had indeed seen Myers at 4:15 that afternoon walking to her room. Willis says she refused to sign the report because she did not believe it was a true and accurate account of what happened. And other nurses and even Myers' family also questioned the report, saying it was impossible for Myers to be seen walking to her room since she could no longer walk on her own and needed a wheelchair.
I was mad.
The nurses say the night Myers fell, they sent the caregiver home, expecting she'd be fired the next day. And yet,
the very next day she was back in the building doing patient care as if nothing had happened.
Shocked, the nurses went straight to Hickory Hills administrator.
I said, why is she there? She said, well, corporate won't let us fire her. That wasn't really abuse. That wasn't really neglect.
Holmes and Willis then did what they say as nurses they are required by law to do.
If you suspect someone of being abused, you have to pick up the phone and call.
They reported what happened to the state's Adult Protective Services Agency, as well as Hickory Hills' corporate office. Hickory Hills' attorney maintains this summary from the state health department shows state regulators visited the facility in March to investigate Myers' fall and subsequent death and conduct their annual survey as well. The health department refused to confirm exactly why they were there, citing confidentiality laws. But according to this report, the state found no deficiencies during their visit. Hickory Hills' attorney tells News Channel 5 Investigates this vindicates the facility, insisting the health department did a thorough and complete investigation. Yet these nurses say the health department never questioned or even contacted them about Myers' death. And the former health services director at Hickory Hills, who says she headed up an internal investigation right after the fall, says she was not questioned either. Hickory Hills tells News Channel 5 Investigates its internal investigation determined the neglect allegations were totally unfounded. But the former health services director tells us she actually determined the caregiver needed to be fired, and with the administrator's blessing, escorted her out of the building.
As a nurse, that's like one of the most important things that we do. You know, we protect our patients.
Holmes and Willis, meanwhile, were both suspended after reporting what happened.
And I just was kind of in shock.
They call it retaliation. And after this interview, both were fired. While at least 3 other former employees also tell News Channel 5 they lost their jobs because they too spoke up.
Anybody that had questioned that incident at all has been suspended or terminated or forced to resign.
Meanwhile, Hickory Hills rehired Myers' caregiver, calling what had happened to the 88-year-old woman an accident.
Well, they have to call it an accident. What else are they going to call it?
Attorney Clint Kelly
It's neglect. And this lady deserved better than that.
has now notified Hickory Hills that he plans to sue them, alleging negligence and wrongful death on behalf of Myers' family, including daughter Mary Riley.
But it could have been prevented if the caregiver had done what she's supposed to do.
And these nurses agree. They say Joyce Myers didn't have to die.
And it's not an accident to not check on somebody for 5.5 hours. That's laziness. And this time it cost somebody their life.
Hickory Hills tells us the facility takes great pride in the accommodations and services it provides to its residents and its assisted living community. They also claim the nurses who spoke to us are simply disgruntled former employees, but both women have now hired attorneys and plan to sue Hickory Hills for wrongful termination.